As we continue to talk a little bit about CSS, one of the things that you can achieve with CSS is working with a sprite sheet. Now, the advantage of a sprite sheet is that you're working with one image asset. Let's say, for example, you have a couple different social media icons on your website. Furthermore, each of those icons have a rollover state. So if you're working with Google+, Twitter, and Facebook, there's the 3 original images, but also the 3 rollover images. So there's 6 images altogether. Well, that's quite a bit to transfer back and forth between the client browser and the web server, whereas a sprite sheet would be one download. With CSS, you simply reposition the sprite sheet based upon the needs of what needs to be displayed. So here I have a document called socialicons.psd. That's all it is. Are 3 different social media icons. Then I have a document called spritesheet.psd where I have the 3 social media icons in color and the 3 social media icons in black and white. Then I have a document that's just 75 by 75 pixels. Let me show you how a sprite sheet works. If I come over here and select everything, so I'm going to go ahead and temporarily flatten this image. I'll go ahead and select all and copy it. I'll come over to this document and paste it. This is what the user would see. Even though there's a whole bunch of other icons associated with this image, this is all they're viewing until they mouse over it. And when they mouse over it, the CSS is going to reposition that image so you see the color version of the image. What about the social icon next to it? Well, the CSS would position the image in a way that displays that social media icon. And so that's all the CSS is doing, is simply changing the location of this image. And this is a much more efficient way to work. So how do you go about creating this sprite sheet file? Well, the process is fairly straightforward. What you would do is come up to the File menu, and from there you would choose New. Then you would specify the width. In this case, the social media icons are 75 pixels by 75 pixels. We have 3 of them, so the width is 225. 75 times 3 is 225. Then we have to account for the height. We have a social media icon on top and bottom, so we have 2 icons at 75 pixels tall. 75 times 2 is 150. So you'd create a document 225 by 150, and then you can click OK. Now, if you want, you can set up guides, or you can display a grid. An easy way to do that is to come up to the Edit menu here on the Windows side, and from the Edit menu, you're going to come all the way down to Preferences. Now, if you're on the Mac, you'll go to the Photoshop menu and choose Preferences, and from there, you can choose Guides, Grid, and Slices. Now, what you want to do here in terms of the grid section is change every line to 75 pixels. You may have some other value here, but if you type in 75 and choose pixels from this menu and click OK, you'll have a grid that's evenly divided based upon the social media icons that we want to work with. Of course, we need to turn the visibility of the grid on. You can come up to the View menu, and from there, you can choose Show Grid. Now all you need to do is come over to socialmediaicons.psd, select all 3 layers, then select all, Control-A or Command-A on the Mac. With the Move tool, click and drag this to your new untitled document. When you let go of the mouse, you'll see all of the images here. I'm going to go ahead and just move these so they're a little bit easier to see. And all we have to do now is select the Google+ layer, drag and drop that into place, select the Twitter layer, drag and drop that into place, select the Facebook layer, drag and drop that into place. Then, what you want to do is duplicate all of these layers. With all of these layers selected, so select Facebook, hold down the Shift key and select Google+. You can use the keyboard shortcut Control-J, it would be Command-J on the Mac to create copies. With these copies selected, I'm just going to use the down arrow key on the keyboard. And if you hold down the Shift key, you'll move it in larger pixel increments. Now, one thing that you may want to do at this point is turn off the grid. You no longer need it. You can come up to the View menu, and from there, you can choose Show, and then you can deselect Grid. Now, what we want to do is make one row here black and white. So with these copies selected, I'm going to go ahead and group them, Control-G or Command-G on the Mac. I'll go ahead and select the next 3 and group those as well, Command-G or Control-G. In this case, group 2 is on the top, group 1 is on the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and name this group black and white, or B and W for black and white. And I'll name this group color. And then all you have to do is select the black and white layer group, come down here towards the bottom to create an adjustment. The adjustment that you want, of course, is black and white. You'll notice now that the social media icons on the top are black and white. At this point, all you'd have to do is come over to the File menu, and from there you can choose Save for Web, and you can optimize this Sprite sheet. You probably can get away with saving this as a GIF, but you could also try something like PNG8 to see what's going to give you the best results at the lowest possible file size. So Sprite sheets inside of Photoshop are fairly straightforward to set up. Remember, the key is really setting up that guide so you can easily see where you need to place each of these images.